Should every school trip be a careers trip? That's the topic that we're going to be diving in with our fabulous guest, Vic, today.
Yes, that's right. Welcome back to the We Are Careers show with Chris and Sabiha. And as Sabiha's just mentioned there, we are going to be tackling a question which I think there's a huge number of people that have opinions about this, may have answers already in their minds about this, but we're very fortunate today to have a guest with us who is going to help us unpick all of that and tell us about a great opportunity that's available for young people to get involved with all around this topic.
So, I want to say a warm welcome to Victoria. Now, Victoria, I have just learned something about you as we were preparing for the show, that you are an actor and that you come from a family of actors, which
Indeed.
doesn't surprise me now because when I follow you on social media, I definitely see that element coming through. And when I was reading recently one of your posts about how you've been busy so far this year, and we're only in, by the way, first quarter, and already Victoria's been doing research and advising on work experience. She's been creating learning resources for We Are Futures. She's designed and developed webinars for Future First. And the list is endless. I mean, it just goes on. And if by any way you're not following Victoria on LinkedIn or on the socials, then make sure that you do. And then one of the things that really stood out for me, Victoria, I'm going to get you to come in on this now, is that in one of your recent posts on LinkedIn, you said this is the most rewarding, exciting, varied profession, and I absolutely love it. So before we dive in, Victoria, why is it that you love this profession, and what should people who are watching and listening today know about what led you into this line of work?
Oh my goodness. Well, I've had a bit of a windy journey and done lots of things within it. And for me, I think that obviously it's hugely rewarding, but I think for me the variety and that isn't necessarily the same for every career development professional. There are some who um find their niche and love it in their niche, and that's absolutely fine. That's great. For me, I really like the variety and the work that I now do for the majority of my time with We Are Futures. We're a social impact agency, working with big brands that want to engage with young people, and kind of and doing that very often, but not exclusively through kind of education channels. It's being able to use my passion for careers education and helping young people find their future. It's about using that in a way that's kind of, can be global. It's about, for me, it's about having impact both on, that one individual young person that you have a conversation with in a corridor or at lunchtime, or just that latches onto you as the one that they feel that they can talk to and trust. And like, you could be doing that, but then also, the following week you can be helping to write something that has just been delivered in Saudi Arabia, which is another part of the week. So yeah, it's about the impact that you can have and the variety of ways you can do it.
Excellent, Victoria. Thanks for sharing that. Now, Chris, we've got a topic that's going to be decisive for our viewers and our listeners today. Shall we dive in?
Yeah, I think we should. And I'm not really sure how controversial this is going to be. It's going to be interesting to kind of hear what people's perspectives are. But I guess the best person to come to on this question is you to begin with. And we asked at the top of the show, should every school trip be a careers trip? So let me put that question to you first. What is your immediate response to that question?
Uh, Absolutely. I think they can be, and I think that they should be, because wherever you're going, it doesn't matter whether you're going to a museum or an outward bound centre or a theatre or a zoo or anywhere at all, even if it's, going down the road to, a kind of local like wetland to do mini beasts, if there's somebody there who's guiding you or showing you, or even if not, even if there's just plaques there that tell you about the creatures, somebody wrote that, somebody made it, that was somebody's job to do that. So wherever you go, wherever you are, whoever you encounter, if a person has a job and they work there, it's a workplace, and you can learn about it and you can learn about the person's job. So for me, any trip that isn't a careers trip is arguably a wasted opportunity to bring careers education to life.
So, Vic, how can this look like on a practical level? Like, how could, um, because essentially what we're asking is we're asking the places where school trips take place to incorporate careers. So, on a practical level, how could this work, and what could this look like?
Okay. I mean, working obviously as part of my work at We Are Futures, our client Hyundai, they they came up with this idea, and we're working with them on the Hyundai Great British School trip, which is where they've put the money up basically. So there are bursaries available, and I can talk more about those at the end maybe. Um, but what they've done is they've kind of collated loads of school trip venues, and designed a resource that can be used at any venue, even if it's not a venue that's been booked through the Great British School Trip website, wherever somebody's going. um but but it is specifically designed with those venues in mind, because part of the kind of Hyundai, their ethos and their vision for the future is about progress for humanity. So that kind of worked really well with the idea of kind of progression for children and young people, kind of moving through their careers education. So there are some of the venues that you'll find on the Hyundai Great British School Trip website which actually have a career experience where they've committed to that. So it's not every venue, because obviously it's not something that's possible for every venue. But we could actually look at a couple now. So, for instance, you've got here Gilbert White's House and Gardens in Hampshire. So there are Explorer Days, and they're linked to sort of geography, science, and history. Obviously, on each one, they give you the age ranges that are available. But if you're looking for these tags, this career experience tag, so you can learn about the venue on here, and get in touch with them and everything. But scroll down to the bottom for the ones that have a career experience tag, and it tells you what the career experience is. So this one in particular, they have fieldwork sessions that introduce students to techniques used by ecologists. So they'll meet ecologists and environmental scientists as part of their school trip. So that's just one of the ways that it's possible to do it. And then another example, showing you a little bit how to use the website here. Go up to venues, and we can search for another one that's one of our career experience partners. And then if we look here at the Leeds Heritage Theatres, how exciting is that? That's my world, that, love that. Then here, they're doing something a little bit different. So they're offering careers focused workshops. So learning about performing and non-performing careers. And I love the impartiality of that, and how that there could be someone for everyone there. But even if people are not, if they can't find a venue that works for them on the Hyundai Great British School Trip website, there are still ways that you can make a trip into a careers trip. So things like just making it explicit that you're going to see some people at work today, and you're going to see the environment that they're working in, and you're going to see people doing different jobs. It can be as simple as a chat in the coach on the way there about what you might see, and a chat in the coach on the way home again about, so what jobs did you see? What kind of a place is this to work? Like, is it indoors or outdoors? What were there any jobs that you heard about today that you've never heard of before? Has anyone seen a job today that they think that they would really love to do? You don't need to do extra work. It's not about, and it's not, there's one thing that I heard from somebody which was an interesting perspective, which was, can we not just let kids be kids and go and have fun? And it's like, yeah, yes, absolutely. This isn't about stopping it being fun and making, going and building a raft into a kind of like, oh no, but we now need to get serious and tell you about all the careers here. It's about getting them to see that having a job and having a career can be and should be an exciting adventure. Like, the next part of their life, how exciting and awesome, and like look at all these different things you could possibly do. I definitely don't think the two things are mutually exclusive.
No, I think it's such an important point, because it's that, as you said, it's that understanding of the real world. You can't just compartmentalize these things. They don't exist in isolation. Oh, you get to 18, all of a sudden jobs appear. Oh, where were they before? Where were they kind of hiding?
Exactly. And that's
But
kind of how things used to be, you know?
yeah, and I think it's a really important point as well about as you said, the purposefulness of a trip, because obviously we've seen some of that with the updated Gatsby benchmarks. The redefining what we mean by meaningful employer encounter. Well, as you said, there's lots of different ways to make meaning. And what I quite like about the website particularly is, as you've said there, is even if there's not something that you can necessarily find for a specific venue or a particular career experience, it's inspiration, isn't it? It's giving you ideas that you could apply to another venue maybe near you that isn't there, because it's kind of maybe giving some idea of what could be possible from an experience point of view.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Victoria, I have to say, you are getting my mind sort of kind of pinging off different ideas. And definitely, I feel I wish these kind of initiatives existed when I was at school, because I know I didn't get exposure to any of these. And what's really lovely as well is how what you're working on is allowing career professionals to not only connect this to Gatsby benchmarks, employer engagement. It's also making sure that their students get access to the best quality of career support that they possibly can. So, Vic, tell us more about the Hyundai Great British Trip initiative.
Well, it's been going for just over 3 years now, and it's kind of evolved over that time. And it started with curriculum linked content, because there were sort of 4 themes which match really, really nicely to the kind of the types of venues that students go on school trips anyway. So there's breakthroughs and discoveries, imagination and curiosity, people and the planet, and journeys and adventures. And they kind of sort of loosely link sort of breakthroughs and discoveries to STEM and history, imagination and curiosity to English and the arts, people and planet, science, geography, and journeys and adventures sort of to PSHE, skills development and careers. And then they've been a huge success. And then, but for this year, Hyundai wanted to bring in more of a careers theme to the work that we were doing, because we showed them some research that won't be news to anyone who's listening to this probably, about experiences beyond the classroom, really open young people's eyes to new ways of looking at the world. And Hyundai is all about creativity, sustainability, future mobility, and that progress for humanity theme. So it just seemed to match so well. So that's kind of how the careers thing came about. So what we have now is we still have those curriculum linked resources. So that's not lost. So, because very often school trips, they're not going to be generally a careers trip on their own. Like, I know that, which is why we've integrated it all together. So it's a school trip that's happening anyway, that's, say, maybe led by the history department or the English department or, the drama department. But it's about putting that additional kind of careers lens over it. So I can actually show you one of the example resources. Here we go. So this is kind of the career discovery part. So every resource kind of has these themes within it, and learning objectives that are kind of curriculum linked. So, and there's competitions that students can enter as well. So the one for this year is all about kind of imagining my future. So there's a competition where you can win a school trip and a bursary and some careers resources. But this is all about the venue that they're going to anyway. So this is kind of the sort of stuff that on a school trip, you probably want students to be writing stuff down and recording their learning anyway. So this is just an easy print it off, give it out sheet that can be used for that, about discovering the venue, where they are. And then there's a kind of career discovery part, which just gives them a job hunt challenge. So it's 3 interesting jobs at this venue. So, that you could be as varied as the person who greets you first thing. It could be somebody who's demonstrating something. It could be someone that you see, or it could be, a teacher just asking a question. Wow, this building's amazing. I wonder who made it. That would probably be an architect. It's those sorts of conversations that can go as in depth or stay as kind of surface level as this teacher wants them to be, really. But what these give careers leads and careers professionals is that way to have that conversation. So if you're looking at trying to meet Gatsby benchmark for careers in the curriculum, you find out that there's a science trip going out. it's as simple as a careers lead as going, hey, while you're there, I was kind of bugging you about getting careers into your curriculum. Well, actually, while you're on your school trip, get them to fill this in and have some chats with them. And actually, that's some really meaningful careers learning that can happen on that day. So it's kind of, it really can go as in depth as somebody wants it to go. It can be as simple as, here's an additional follow-up activity that you can do on the coach, you know? So there's that part to the Hyundai Great British School trip. The other part that I've alluded to is bursaries. And they've all been allocated for this year. But if people sign up on the website for free, obviously, then they'll be notified when the next round. And obviously, it's a prioritization. So in terms of the percentage of students on People Premium, free school meals, it's prioritized, as you can imagine. That Hyundai obviously want to help the young people who need their help the most. So yeah, but the bursaries are there because that obviously can be a barrier to schools to getting students out there, because I don't think you'll find an educationalist anywhere in the world who doesn't want to take kids out on school trips. It's always barriers that are put in the way. So
Victoria,
hopefully
can I
Hyundai has
just
managed
ask
to
there?
nip one of those. Yeah,
Yeah, Victoria, can I just jump in here? I wanted to ask you, is there an age range here? Like, is it just for primary schools, high schools,
all through.
all through?
Yeah,
Fantastic.
all
Okay.
through.
So,
Yeah,
and for our viewers who are watching, those who are in the educational space who work as career professionals, how fantastic is that to be able to access this? And I know Vic has
mm,
mentioned here today that obviously the bursaries for 2025 have been already allocated. However, this could be something that could be incorporated in next year's
yeah,
curriculum if you're in need of the bursaries as well. So
yeah,
fantastic, fantastic initiative. And you've just reminded me just this morning. And it's funny, even though I'm a career professional, I didn't think about it in this way, but you've just made me realize. So this morning I was with family and I had my niece who's in year 7, started high school this academic year, and she wanted to know what I was going to do. So she was like, Auntie, what are you going to do today as a, sort of as a career professional? And I went through my diary and I was like, I'm going to do a podcast recording today. I've got to do this training. Then I've got to have this meeting. Then I've got to do these contracts for the team. And she was like, oh, okay, all right. And then she kind of potted off after I kind of gave her my agenda of what I was doing. And I just thought, yeah, how interesting. Because you wouldn't necessarily think typically that that's a day of a career professional, but that is what my day looks like today.
yeah,
And so she was curious. She asked a few questions and then off she went. And I thought, okay, wonderful. And that's
yeah,
it. That's exactly what you're alluding to, Victoria, that, you know, children of all ages are curious, and if we feed into this curiosity that they have, and if we create these opportunities for them to ask questions, then perhaps then the world of careers opens up much wider opportunities for young people
yeah.
than it's ever done before. Like, what would you say to that, Victoria?
Absolutely. I mean, there's that piece of research that kind of contributed, I think, to the early Gatsby benchmarks report. About children making decisions about what jobs could be for them and kind of excluding some that they deem not for them. That process starts at the age of 6, and by the time they get to high school, those kind of oh, people like me don't do that kind of job, they are locked in. And I think any careers professional who has worked with year 10 or year 11 students, particularly in schools where there isn't a lot of careers education happening, they're coming into guidance cold.
Mm.
That those stereotypes and those internalized assumptions about I can and I can't do these things, they are tricky to unpick. They really are cemented in at that point. And if we can, through initiatives like the Hyundai Great British School trip, just giving those exciting opportunities that kids are excited about and that teachers are excited about and everyone has a great day on them, if we can just add a lens of, by the way, this cool thing, that's
Mm.
someone's job. Like, this person here who's instructing you on how to climb this wall, this is their job. They get paid to do this. Like, how cool, and it's just changing those perspectives and just giving them those opportunities to see stuff that they don't normally see. Ask anyone who's had a careers conversation with a 10-year-old, they will tell you they want to be a doctor, a nurse, a teacher, whatever their mum and dad do, or a firefighter, police officer. you know, it's you can't be what you can't see. So it's about letting them see as much as possible, but not just letting them see it, actually going simple as that's a job, by the way.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah.
only
And
additional piece of work that anyone's asking anyone to do on a school trip. That's a job, by the way.
yeah, as you say, it's not necessarily something that has to be super complicated, but I'm really pleased you mentioned about the stereotypes because we have got an episode coming up with Jamie Pinewell and James Duncan from My Path, all about continuing the conversation around primary careers and what that kind of
Yes,
really
they're
looks
doing
like in
great
practice.
work.
But it segues in so nicely there, which is great, almost as if we planned it. And I think on the subject of curiosity, because we're getting very close to the end of the show now, it is, of course, National Careers Week as we go out with this podcast. And we're going to have a number of careers professionals who are, starting to kind of perhaps think even more so than they do at any other time of the year about that kind of element of curiosity. How do we foster that career curiosity? What ways can we really make careers even more exciting and engaging for young people? So if we've had any viewers and listeners, I guess, who are sitting here in National Careers Week, listening or watching this, thinking, okay, you've really inspired me now. This looks like a really kind of decent thing to kind of explore and try and kind of, I guess, learn from if we're talking about the Hyundai Great British School trip, or even just as inspiration for their own types of careers trips that they might be kind of planning. Where's the best place for them to go in terms of finding out more about the initiative?
Definitely just going onto the Hyundai Great British School trip website, just stick it in a search engine, and you can just browse through. So what you can filter, so you put a filter in, looking for the career experience partners, which are a limited number of our venue partners that have decided that they want to do something a bit more kind of meaty in relation to careers, like the two that I showed earlier. But I wouldn't restrict yourselves to those. This is about the school trip that you were planning anyway, that your colleagues were planning anyway. It's about getting the message out there that you can put an extra lens on it. And yes,
Mhm.
there's resources there that you can use that can get kids really thinking about it. Or it can be as simple as that's a job, by the way. and just
Yeah.
sparking that conversation. It can be as simple as that.
It's coming back to that. Should every school trip be a careers trip? It feels as though we've definitely answered that question. But I think before we kind of wrap things up on the show, Vic, I guess we've talked a bit about the initiative itself, the Hyundai Great British School trip. But I guess if we've got any viewers or listeners who specifically want to find out a little bit more about yourself, about We Are Futures, the work you do, maybe connect with you, again, where's the best place for them to go?
Yeah, best place for me is LinkedIn. In fact, I bumped into somebody in a conference who said, "It's Vic off LinkedIn." I was like, "Oh, yes, that's me, Vic off LinkedIn." So yes, you can find me on LinkedIn, Victoria Geary. And We Are Futures is where I spend most of my time. And so again, we're on LinkedIn. Or you can just search for We Are Futures. I can send the link so that we can put that in the chat for everybody. Particularly if there are employers that you know of who really want to engage more with schools and with young people, and kind of want to make that a big part of what they do in their early talent or their CSR work. Then please tell them to get in touch with me, and we can find ways to do like cool massive stuff like this.
Excellent. So, folks, you've heard directly from Vic. If there is reasons why you should be turning your next school trip into adding that lens of careers, Victoria has given us multiple reasons why this should be something that we should all be thinking about. And for folks even who aren't working in the educational space, who have joined us today, by the way, thank you. Our loyal viewers and listeners, we love you. We appreciate you. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button on whatever platform that you are joining us from. And so, what I will say is there will be details about everything that we've discussed here today in the show, link below to take a look at that. But that is all from us this week and this show. Thank you to our guest, Victoria. And as always, you amazing listeners and viewers, and stay tuned and engage with the next episode of the podcast. Chris, final words from you before we say goodbye.
Well, I think the only thing left to say really is a happy National Careers Week to everyone watching or listening to the podcast. And we will see you in the career sphere next time around. See you soon.